Good morning, everybody. Welcome, Elimination. Welcome to Hot Topics, 10 a.m. How are you guys doing? What's going out there in the Elimination? Did you have a good week? It's the end of the week. Almost. Unless you have summer Fridays, which a lot of people do. You know what? I'm going to make this a little bit tighter. Just a little bit tighter. That's good. A little bit tighter. It is the end of the week. Maybe you have summer Fridays. Maybe you're already off. It has been a crazy week here in New York City, by the way. We started off with it was hell outside, literally. Everyone was feeling like they lived in hell. And I'm going to say something that's really gross, so get ready, all right? Caveat. It smells like pee and weed on the streets of New York. I'm not kidding. I was walking. I was like, oh, my God, it smells like pee right here. And I don't know if it's dog pee or human pee. I don't know. But hot pee and whatever. And weed, like all of New York City. Sorry. Someone said, don't forget TikTok. I know I did not forget TikTok. Hi, TikTok. Yes, it is. But now it was like 60 some degrees this morning. So now I'm wearing a sweatshirt. By the way, it is the Lemon Live with Don Lemon sweatshirt. Go to our merch store. You can get it. Go to the merch store. You can go on the website, donlemon.com, or you can go on our YouTube page and go to shop. Okay. Oh, wow, Andy, quick with that. There we go. And so you can get that sweatshirt. There it is right there. And it's a summer or spring sweatshirt. It's not a heavy winter one. So if it's a chill, like a chilly evening or chilly morning or just whatever, you can pop this on because it's not thick. It's a good one. It's a good one. I love it. Very soft, very soft. And I have my 120 Life in my lemon mug and my little... amazing. All on the site. So good morning, everybody. Thank you. Let me know where you are streaming from and just talk to me. Let me know what's up. We have a lot this week was a little crazy for all of us. All of us. We're going to tell you about our award. I'll get that in a minute. I actually left it downstairs. I'll go grab it. We'll tell you about our award that we received this week. Well, kind of two awards because we received one on Saturday, remember? And then I flew back. And then we had our show with DL, and then we got an award from the Chamber of Commerce. We'll show you all of that. So it's quite the week for the Don Lemon Show. We had some good interviews. We had the mayor on yesterday, which caused some controversy in his remarks. Nutty. Did you guys see that? And you're all part of the Elimination, which is great. So please make sure people get complacent, hit the thumbs up, hit the like, because it does affect the algorithm, and more people become aware of our conversation in our channel here. Everywhere we go, I'm going to show you the evidence. I'm a lemon head. I'm part of the Elimination. I'm like, wow, that's great. Okay, so make sure you do that. And we stay viable because of your generosity. So please become a member, or you can gift memberships. A lot of our people do. Simi and Maureen and Beth Bear. A lot of folks gift memberships to other people, and we appreciate that. I wish you could gift subscriptions, but the subscribe button is right below the comments on the screen. Okay, so good morning, good Friday morning, everyone. Let me tell you what we have here. We have a very special guest. We're going to take you inside the courtroom because the Diddy trial is coming to an end. Okay, so good morning, welcome to the Don Lemon Show. This is Hot Topics, 10 a.m. After 7 long weeks, we may reach the end of the trial of Sean Diddy Combs today, as the Music Mogul's defense team will make its closing argument in a final push to convince a jury that he should not be convicted of sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution. Okay, sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution, and racketeering conspiracy charges. Now, I want you to keep in mind the stakes here. Thank you, Beth Collier. Because of Beth's generosity, 20 people get to become members of the Elimination. So thank you, Beth, for that. Okay, so here's the deal. This is the stakes. Diddy faces a possibility of life in prison. Diddy faces the possibility of life in prison. Okay, the Assistant U.S. Attorney Christy Slavic spent nearly 5 hours yesterday delivering the prosecution's closing speech, attempting to summarize nearly 2 months of sprawling testimony from Combs's former girlfriends, former employees, and others. Her theme, I should say, Diddy doesn't take no for an answer. That's what she is saying. Diddy does not take no for an answer. Okay. We got some great color out of the courtroom just moments ago. Per Washington Post reporter Annie Brannigan, In the anxious moments before the jury arrived, during the jury's arrival, Sean Combs, wearing a yellow sweater and a white collared shirt, stood at the defense table trying to pump up his legal team like it's halftime at the Super Bowl. He made prayer hands, jiggle them in the direction of each of his attorneys. Also, just moments ago, Judge Aaron Subramanian, I've said it a million times and I can't say it this morning. Subramanian, that's it. Indicated that he expects to give jurors their instructions today, and they may even begin deliberations after the defense finishes its closing arguments and the prosecution delivers a rebuttal. So we have much to discuss. Fortunately, I have the perfect guest to discuss. You've seen her. She's a friend of the Don Lemon Show. Symone Redwine is attorney, a legal analyst, a law professor. Symone, thank you very much. She's been following the trial. She's been in the courtroom. How are you doing, my friend? And how did I sum it up right for you?
You summed it up right. Thank you so much, Don. I'm so happy to be back.
Okay, happy to be back. All right, you heard the color from the courtroom this morning.
Yes.
All right, there's some really odd things that are happening here. The closing arguments begin. This is at New York Post saying the closing arguments are beginning here. We'll put the New York Post up, okay? And then before we speak to Symone, I just want you to get, this is what is at stake. This is an ABC News report summing up what's going on. Here it is.
Tonight, after a sprawling 7-week case, federal prosecutors tried to tie together all the evidence against Sean Combs, telling the 8-man, 4-woman jury it's time to find the defendant guilty. His mother, twin daughters, and sons filing into the courthouse where prosecutors delivered a nearly 5-hour summation, saying Combs used power, violence, and fear to get what he wanted, and forced 2 women, Cassie Ventura and an ex-girlfriend known by the pseudonym Jane, to have sex with male escorts while he watched, directed, and filmed. Jurors saw graphic footage of those encounters and heard gripping testimony about hundreds of them. But today, a prosecutor said one single freak-off is enough. You only need to find the elements of sex trafficking are met on one occasion. Combs has denied charges of sex trafficking, transportation for prostitution, and racketeering conspiracy. Prosecutors pointing to allegations of arson, drugs, and the bribery of a hotel security guard following this 2016 assault of Cassie Ventura as proof Combs ran a criminal enterprise with a cadre of loyal lieutenants. It's his kingdom. Everyone was there to serve him.
All right, that's a report from ABC News. All right, so listen, are they proving all of this? There's a lot there, the sex trafficking, conspiracy, all of that. Is the prosecution proving this? And then we're going to talk about this weird thing that they're using this, the war in Iran, so to speak, as justification that the charges should be dropped or Diddy should be found innocent or not guilty. That's a whole nother thing. But Symone, what say you?
Yes, I say the prosecution has done an excellent job of proving the prostitution for transportation counts, for proving RICO, and then with the sex trafficking. That one, I could still see it going 50-50. The reason for that is because Cassie's claims and Jane's claims are very different. They have similarities, but Jane's claim, in my opinion, really weakened the trafficking case because Jane's claims were based on fraud and based on there was only one incident of force. So for the trafficking, my prediction is I would not be surprised if there was either a mistrial or if he got a not guilty. Now,
For trafficking.
For the trafficking.
Okay.
Yes, for the trafficking. Now, the interesting part is they only have to find one instance of trafficking. And I think the strongest proof of that would be the Cassie incident with the hotel, with the dragging and the beatdown. There we go.
I thought that wasn't part of the thing.
It is.
Maybe was it the beating, not the part of it? Or what? Like, how does that make sense?
Sure. So this is part of the trafficking because in the middle of this, they were in the middle of having a freak off. There was actually another man in the room. There was another of I call them male hookers for YouTube purposes, but there was a male S worker in that room. And during their freak off, he begins to beat Cassie. That's what makes this part of the trafficking. That's what makes this part of the trafficking. So she wants to stop. You whoop on her. You drag her. She tries to leave the freak off. You won't let her leave. I think that is the strongest incident. And so again, they only need to show one incident of trafficking for to win on the sex trafficking claim. And as far as consent goes, they did a really good job of explaining that, hey, just because she consented to other times does not mean she consented on that day. And it was on that day. Mm-hmm.
Symone, let me ask you then. Okay, because remember, I just remember in the beginning, and when I started covering this, everyone was saying, "Well, you know, the tape is salacious. The tape is maybe prejudicial. The tape is not going to be part of the trial. They're not, you know, the jury is not weighing or taking into consideration what happened on the tape. So then, what gives here?"
So those people went to Google School of Law. Okay. I went to Real One and I work at Real Ones. They were just dead wrong, loud and wrong. The prosecution, the government clearly stated and used this as an example of an instance. This is clearly an instance of force. Remember, trafficking can happen via force, fraud, or coercion. And that was an incident of fraud. I'm sorry, of force.
Of force.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And so you think that is, so if you're saying they're going to have trouble, you believe on the trafficking, they may find the strongest trafficking is that, but do you think that that's going to go through?
I think that I don't know if they're going to be able to get all 12 to agree on that one. But I'll say this, if they find him not guilty of trafficking Cassie, there's no way they'll find him guilty of trafficking Jane. That's why I'm saying the focus should really be on this particular incident of force. However, the jurors were falling asleep at various times. So it almost feels as though the jurors have largely made up their minds.
But we don't know which
we're really going to have to see.
Do we know which direction? No. You're in the courtroom, like you're watching them. What are they saying? But go on, sorry to interrupt. We have a bit of a delay.
They're so used to, no problem. They're so used to it that it's hard to say for each one, right? Because part of it could be they've made up their mind in favor of guilt. Mm-hmm. And that they don't need to hear the repetition again with regards to things like that video. That part was really clear. Now, there were other areas that this was the first time that what the prosecution did do is they put up a PowerPoint that stated the law, and then she went into the facts that supported proving up each of the elements of the law. Those were times when the jurors were sitting up, they were paying attention, because it's like, yeah, we know the facts. Show us how these facts apply to the law here.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you, this is someone on TikTok. Okay. Now, what is the trafficking? Is it trafficking, meaning bringing in the males, or is it Cassie? Because someone says, Poppy says, I'm confused. She was trafficked, but continued to freak offs and agreed to them. Make it make sense.
Right. Well, so all they have to show is that there was one freak off that she did not want to do.
Okay.
That's it. So that's the clarification. And the sex workers were also trafficked in instances as well. They used the example of Daniel Phillip. Daniel Phillip was a sex worker who acknowledged that they were in the middle of a freak off. Diddy stopped, took Cassie in a room and started whooping up on her, and then tried to make Daniel continue. Daniel couldn't finish because of all that was happening there. That, they said, was an additional example of trafficking. And it was trafficking in that instance, both of Cassie and of Daniel, because they didn't want to complete the act. That's the difference between the prostitution and the trafficking.
Got it. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so, but there are other charges. Now, how are they on all the other charges? Because there are a bunch of different things that can be considered here. And our thing says the end of Diddy. Is it the end of Diddy? I'm going to play some of this stuff, though. First of all, before we do that, this is a courtroom artist. We have the courtroom artist stuff. And then I want to play this. This is just a little bit because they're trying to explain it here. This is Harvey and Charles, and they go through things. And I want to see if you agree with them. This is Harvey and Charles over at the TMZ. Watch.
Welcome to TMZ Live. Harvey Levin here.
Charles here.
So the prosecution in the Diddy case, they are winding up now, closing arguments tomorrow and Friday. The jury gets the case probably Monday. So the prosecution just filed paperwork today, actually in the form of a letter to the judge, saying that they wanted to simplify the jury instructions per the judge's instructions. And what they're doing is they're streamlining things, that there are charges alleging kidnapping, arson, that's the Kid Cudi case. They are alleging aiding and abetting in sex trafficking. They are slimming that all down so that they're not going to kind of overburden and overwhelm the jury with instructions.
Right. They're saying that to the judge that when you give the jury their instructions, just leave out the attempted kidnapping, leave out attempted arson,
But they're
aiding
saying,
and abetting.
They're saying
Leave
there's
it out
still
of
actual kidnapping.
Yes.
Actual arson.
And those things, the counts, the charges still remain. They're just saying there's no reason in the jury instructions to tell them about the attempted kidnapping.
And Charles, I'll tell you why.
Because the actual
attempted means you failed or didn't go through with it. They're alleging it was gone through with, so why bother calling it an attempt as well?
Right. And they're just trying to, because the jury is going to have, there are so many, because there are 4 counts there, and because one of them is a RICO count that has so many underlying alleged crimes, they just want to simplify this so that the jury, when they get their instructions, know
So legal
what to do.
schmiegel. Legal schmiegel.
Okay,
Let's
so
talk about what really
All right, hold on. Let me see what they say here.
matters.
Well, hold on. I want to say that I know what you want to get to, and we should, but this also plays into that because this is going to be a very complicated thing for the jury
Super complicated.
to look at. And they are potentially going to be under a bit of a time crunch.
So it looks like each side is going to take a day. So tomorrow, Thursday,
closing argument.
there will be a prosecution's closing argument. Friday, the defense's closing argument. And then the judge is going to give instructions to the jury, which may take a couple hours.
Because of what we just talked about.
So realistically, the jury's going to start deliberating on Monday.
Right.
So you got
they might have an hour or so late on Friday.
Or they may do it. We don't know. They may do it on Friday.
I think it's
depending.
going to come tonight.
The jury's.
No.
I think it's going
No
to come
way.
tonight. All right.
Ain't no
All right.
way.
Well, let's bet. Okay, go ahead.
Exactly.
I want to hear though. Harvey said something that what he really wanted to get to. Let's keep going, please, Andy.
Probably going to start deliberating in earnest on Monday. The reality here, folks, is that if you've talked to your friends, you know, some people say, oh, he's guilty on everything. He's guilty on nothing. I don't see the RICO charge, but I do see the Mann Act charge. So my gut tells me, and I don't try to guess juries, but they're not going to all agree right out of the gate. Yeah. So there's going to be debate and, going over evidence and talking. So Monday goes in.
Remember, there are 28 days of testimony, and they're going to go over a lot of.
No, remember, in O.J. Simpson, there was 9 months, but they came in 2 hours.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it really.
well,
so
that was.
It really just depends. But I think Monday is going to bleed into Tuesday. And then if you get into Wednesday, there's an issue.
Now things start tightening up.
Yeah, they're really up against the clock because Friday's July 4th, Thursday's July 3rd. Do they want
They're
to
all
come in
wrong.
on Thursday?
Well, Thursday and the courts are closed.
Or do they want to get it done on Wednesday?
And not only that, there's a court holiday. So court is closed on July 3rd and 4th. That is Thursday and Friday. So what's the best way to get to consensus on Wednesday? The looming idea that you will be dragged into court through a skeletal staff that Judge Subramanian can say, I'm going to open up just the jury room. I'm going to have a skeletal staff come in on a holiday, and you guys are going to continue deliberating. That's going to drive consensus in that jury room to say, hey, I got plans. I want to see some fireworks. You better all get on board.
You can listen to Derek and, based on his record, say, look, he's a doofus. But in this case, he's
it's true, but we don't say it out loud like that.
In this case, he is actually right that experientially, that when you have these 4-day holidays, it's shocking how many juries suddenly reach a consensus.
I have clarity. You know what? All the 28 days of testimony, I've been seeing it crystal clear.
Well, not just that, but not just that. But you may have an 11-1 split or a 10-2 split on one of the counts, and those
pressure on those
and
holdouts.
the pressure on those two. They may have family picnics, they may have family parties, whatever. At a point, I know that sounds trivial and crazy, but there is that kind of inert
in the back
pressure.
of their head.
Yes,
it's definitely going to be not even in the back of the head. Maybe
I had not heard this conversation, but I believe I think this is what Harvey wanted to get to, maybe. But I listened on the back end when we were done with this. I think that they're wrong. This person on the thing says, I think that they're wrong. I think they're wrong, Symone. Let me tell you why. Look, all right, it may not be this evening, but I think it's going to be quick. Because I think that people have made up their mind. I think that video is so damning that people on this jury, how many women on this jury?
4 women, 8 men.
4 women, 8 men. Do we have, and what's the makeup?
We don't, it's hard to tell the races between those that are alternates and they're on the jury, but there's at least 4 Black women, 3 Black males. There's some Latinos, as well as the Caucasian. So it's very diverse, and at least one Asian person. And the majority of the ages are over 30. I think the youngest person is late, like 28 years old, but majority of people are from 30 to 70 years old. They got places to go.
Okay, let me tell you. I don't think it's going to be, well, look, it might be tonight. Remember,
no, let me tell you why I don't think so.
All right, old people be knowing.
Oh, people do be knowing.
So presidential, they're just like, look, this guy's guilty. Do it. Okay, so it might be tonight, but it could be is it Monday? Right? They go back on Monday. It's not a holiday.
They go back on Monday.
Okay,
go back on Monday
or Monday. It's going to be quick. It's not going to drag into the 4th of July. All right, go on, Symone. What you got to say?
Sir, okay, the reason I have to say I don't think so is because they're going to do closing arguments today. They're doing rebuttals, and then the judge has to read the jury instructions. Them doggone jury instructions are 40 plus pages. They're 30 or 40 pages. He has to read each and every page and articulate it to them. And it's not until they get those that they'll be able to start. So I anticipate.
So you mean the jury instructions?
Correct. That's what's going to take longer, right? So that may not finish today. If it doesn't, it won't start till Monday. Or even if let's say it does finish today, then the jury gets to start on Monday. That jury is going to have to go through those doggone 40 pages of jury instructions. And the RICO charge alone is like 20 of the pages. It's like the first 20 pages. So I think that part is what's going to take time. Now, if I were them, I'd start with the hooker charges, the transportation, the prostitution across state lines. Say, hey, can we at least get an agreement here? If they do that, that will help set the stage.
Okay.
That's the easiest.
Okay, Symone. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So yesterday was the prosecution. Today is the defense. How long? The court is in session now, I assume.
Yes.
Okay. And they're going over this now. How long do you think these closing arguments are going to be?
4 hours. The defense gets 4 hours.
So it's like 9 to 10, 10, 11, 12.
Started at 9.
1. Okay. 9, 10, 10, 11, 12, 12.
Lunch break.
Okay, 1. I'm not that good at math. That's why I'm a journalist. Okay. Lunch break. And then they come back. Okay. And then, so can they start giving rebuttal? Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. And
then,
so that's how long is rebuttal?
That could be an hour to 2 hours. They haven't said, but it could be an hour.
Okay. And then after that, then they'd have to have instructions.
Yes. They have
can the judge say, we're going home and we're going to give instructions on Monday?
Sure can.
Okay.
Sure can, and probably will.
Maybe it's going to be Monday. Maybe it's going to be Monday then.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think they largely have made up in their mind what they want to do. I think they're going to have a knockdown, drag-on fight over the trafficking charges. Because
someone just said, good morning, Don. There's going to be one juror to hold up. What are you saying?
I agree that that's likely to happen on the trafficking charge.
Yes, that's what I'm asking you. Yeah.
Yes, on the trafficking, I could see that happening. The RICO is pretty darn clear. I think the government has proven the RICO, that RICO evidence, and RICO is easy to prove. They only need 2 of the predicate offense. I'll tell you which 2. Don, which 2 do you think they've likely proven of the underlying crimes for RICO?
Oh, well, isn't that like RICO, like paying people?
It's racketeering. Yeah. So it's that they have the enterprise, right? Diddy is the enterprise, basically, and that he uses his staff, the staff that we've discussed, to execute the crimes that he wants done for the common goal of protecting his brand, image, and his power. Now, RICO's got 8 little underlying charges, and the guys from TMZ were right that they're still pursuing the arson and the kidnapping, right? I actually do a video on my channel. It's called Girl, Is That Legal on YouTube. I broke it down because they were wrong.
I asked you this morning, Symone. I said, are there any assets that we should get? You should have told me about that damn video because I would have put it up here for you.
Okay. It's kind of long. It was like 12 minutes, but you're right. You're right. I should have. That should have.
Yeah.
But in it, I show clips. Yeah, you can pull it from my channel, which is Girl, Is That Legal on YouTube. I show basically all that they cut out was in the indictment for the kidnapping and the arson. There's the completed act, there's attempts, there's conspiracy, there's aiding and abetting. Those are still there. In other words, there's 8 charges, but I'll say this. I think the strongest is the bribery for making those tapes go away and the hookers. The hookers are both a standalone charge and a RICO. So if they say there was one instance of hookers and one instance of bribery, RICO has been proven.
Okay. And so
you're
saying this is we have not done this. Usually we do, more serious things, but since this is now, closing arguments, we had you on before, and this is a story that, look, it's lots of interest on this channel when we do it. I have to be completely honest with you. When we do this, there's lots of interest on this channel. So I didn't realize you used to be a judge. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Well, damn, girl, you should have told me that. I need to do better homework. Okay, so then so you think, when do you think it will come? When do you think we'll find out?
I think that we're gonna get something back. Is it Wednesday before the holiday? Yeah, Wednesday evening. Even if that's coming out and saying we're hung, we can't agree.
All right.
Here's the thing: they can agree on some charges and not others. So they can agree on the hookers, but be hung on the trafficking and or the RICO.
Okay, so you think that there might be a hung jury? You think there'll be a mistrial?
Oh yeah, I
Really?
think there could be on certain counts. But here's what happens: they tell the judge, "Hey, we're hung, we can't agree." Then the judge says, "I don't care. Go back and consider it some more." So I could see them coming out on Wednesday saying, "We're stuck, we can't agree." The judge saying, "Come back on Monday and consider it some more." So they've got to make multiple attempts, at least one try. Generally, they're usually required to try at least one more time after they go to the judge and say that they're hung, and they can't ask for clarification. If they're hung on a particular law or portion of the law, they can ask for clarification, transcripts, etc.
Well, before we move on to something else, let me just say, why do the interest of, I guess this trial is it's just so salacious, but the interest on this trial is just unbelievable to me. Why is that? Can you please explain that to me?
This trial is like the O.J. Simpson trial of our generation. And I believe the interest is twofold. We've got, we had the Me Too movement. So there's a number of people and women who feel like for 2 decades, Diddy has been committing and getting away with crimes, and this is finally his time to be held accountable. But then we've got some gentlemen on the other side who said, look, this Me Too thing has gone too far. It's time that he should be found not guilty because they're taking it too far. And the defense actually used the word, they described this as a Me Too shutdown. That this is basically, they've taken the Me Too movement too far, and that's what they're doing against Diddy here.
Wow. And so when people think, like when we say the end of Diddy and people say, oh, well, we're going to find out everything once this is over, it's not done yet. This one thing is going to keep going.
Yeah. And lastly, this is, at the end of the day, I'm going to say this. We would not be here if that CNN video with the beatdown had not become public. I don't believe that the feds would have brought it, because what happened is when that video became public, there was this outcry. People were calling into the LA County District Attorney's office saying, you guys have to press charges against him. They said, our hands are tied, statute of limitations. Well, what this RICO charge does is things that otherwise the statute of limitations had passed, like that Cassie beatdown, he can now be held accountable because they're able to pull it into the RICO, and the statute of limitations is not a problem the way it was previously.
Wow. Okay. You're the best.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you. I hope you got it all in. Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate you joining us on the Don Lemon Show. I did not expect to be having this conversation that was so lively with you this morning. So, thank you.
That's what I'm known for.
Will you come back? Look, as soon as something happens, we want to have you back. Okay. You've been a really good friend of the show. So thank you so much. All right.
All right. Check me out on Girl Is That Legal, y'all. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Attorney Symone Redwine, and former judge and everything legal. She knows it all. So thank you so much for that. Hey, listen, we're going to get a word in from our sponsors, but on the other side of that, we're going to talk about what's happening here in New York. There is a huge story going on. You know about the mayor's race here in New York City, what happened on Tuesday, an upset of a household name, Andrew Cuomo, the former governor of New York. And now the business community here, they're really concerned about what's happening. And they're saying, well, some folks may leave. The real estate industry is concerned about it. We'll see if that's all real. We have an amazing reporter who's going to join us from Semafor. Her name is Liz Hoffman. She's going to break it down for us and tell us the real deal on this, if this is actually real or if this is just people who are, sort of blustering at this point. But first, let's get a word in from our sponsors. And I want to talk about this particular one because we focus on different parts of the world, and we're very myopic here in America. We focus on things that happen in America, and we focus on the Middle East a lot. That is also playing into this mayor's race as well. We focus on Israel and Iran and et cetera, and Iraq and all of those things. But we don't focus enough, I believe, on atrocities and things that are happening on the continent of Africa. And so support for the Don Lemon Show today comes from MSI United States. A hard, cold fact for you. In sub-Saharan Africa, 4 million teenage girls drop out of school every year because they get pregnant. Just like any other teenagers anywhere else, they experiment sexually, okay? But for many of these girls, there's no access to birth control. Most will never go back to school. Some will risk their lives trying to end the pregnancy. Too many will die. The good news is there's an organization called MSI Reproductive Choices that's known for going to the ends of the earth to bring girls contraception and control over their lives. So give today. Go to msiunitedstates.org or text my last name, Lemon, to 511-511. Text Lemon to 511-511 for just $26. You can give a girl contraception for 4 years. That's 4 years to complete her education and build a future. That's you can text Lemon to 511-511 or go to MSI. That's M as in modern, S as in safe, I as in informed, United-States.org. That's MSIUnitedStates.org. Informed, MSIUnitedStates.org. Safe, modern, safe, and informed. Okay, so check it out. You can help a young lady for just $26, and that's really, really important. All right. Also, what's important is your health. You guys know that I only have sponsors on that I have a connection with. There are people in my family who suffer from high blood pressure. My dad died of complications from diabetes. So that's why this one is important to me, because support for the Don Lemon Show today also comes from 120 Life. You know that high blood pressure is the number one risk factor for mortality. 1 in 2 adults has that, and that is a 50-50 chance of that you're a walking time bomb. Okay, here's the good news. You can take control of your blood pressure naturally without relying on big pharma. 120 Life is a blend of great tasting superfruit juices that have been shown to actually help lower your blood pressure. It's not just for high blood pressure. It's also beneficial for health conditions like diabetes. Okay, and it's all natural. It's juices. It's all natural super fruits and juices. Okay, 120 Life is trusted by healthcare professionals with hundreds of doctors recommending it to help manage blood pressure naturally. It provides visible, measurable changes in blood pressure. You can use a simple monitor at home to track progress. For a limited time, try 120 Life. To save 20% off, just use the code DON at checkout, 120life.com. Okay, 120life.com offers a risk-free trial. If I can get my lips to work this morning, with a full refund if you don't see lower numbers in 2 weeks. So go to 120life.com and use the code DON to save 20% off. There's nothing to lose except for your high blood pressure, numbers. So go to 120life.com and use the code DON or DON to save 20% off. Remember, use that code DON to get that special offer. This is serious. This is your life. We're talking about 120 Life can help. So thank you to our sponsors this morning. It is Friday. It's been a long week. I have a rough time making my lips work this morning. So thanks to our sponsors. Let me put up this article. This is from Semafor. And we had an interview with the mayor of New York City on yesterday. And this is from our friends over at Semafor. This is from Liz Hoffman and Ben Smith. And it says, Eric Adams suddenly finds overwhelming support from NYC's desperate business elites. And let's just go down a little bit, and I want to read some, and then I'll bring Liz in just a second. And so there you see it. The scene, New York City's business community stunned by the apparent primary victory of democratic socialist Zoran Mamdani, and featuring a leftward shift in America's biggest city, appears to be abandoning its grudging support for former Governor Andrew Cuomo and organizing more desperately around Mayor Eric Adams in a last-ditch effort to block Mamdani in November's general election. That article is by Liz Hoffman and also Ben Smith over at Semafor. Let's bring Liz in. Liz is the reporter on this. Liz, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're confirming. Good morning to you, by the way. We appreciate you joining. That you're confirming what I am hearing from not only from business leaders, but also from Jewish friends as well. They're concerned about a Mamdani becoming a mayor here in New York City, because they believe, one, they're saying that he is anti-Semitic. That's what they're saying. And two, they're saying, that the tax base in New York City, the business leaders are concerned because he's not pro-business. Is that the impetus? Is that why you're writing this? And I was, by the way, at Mayor Eric Adams' launch rebid yesterday, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But what say you?
Yeah, look, there's two things going on here, which sort of overlap in weird and interesting ways. One, as you point out, the sort of undercurrent here is a lot of this Israel-Palestine stuff, which is kind of crazy given how many real local problems New York City has, that this election got really globalized kind of in its final weeks. That got a lot of oxygen, and as you say, there is, frankly, a lot of overlap between New York's finance community and its Jewish community, and they are very exercised about this. And the other is that they're really afraid of socialists. I mean, and look, yes, this is a democratic socialist. There are some political differences there, but Mamdani has a very progressive agenda that is going to have to be paid for, and he's been pretty explicit that he'd like it to be paid for by billionaires. This is the background to all of this is really sort of kind of post-pandemic. There are real problems in New York that you see and you feel. And there's a sense, I think, among the elites of this generation that this is kind of not the New York that their financial fathers, that like Nelson Rockefeller Republicans, were benefactors of, and they see it slipping away from them, and they're very spooked. And then part of it is just that they see their own waning political power. They did not want this guy elected, and he won. So they're a little unnerved by all of it.
Liz, I want you to listen to this because it goes right into what your article is about. And this is our interview with Mayor Eric Adams yesterday, where he basically said that Mamdani is an anti-Semite, and also said that he was young as an assemblyman. He did not know what he was doing. He should have done it while he was an assemblyman. And that as mayor, he doesn't believe that he's going to be able to get these ideas across or pass. Here it is. It's muted, Andy.
His philosophy, I said before, and I said it more than one time, we know who he is. He has not vacillated, has not changed over the years. I think his philosophy of socialism is really something that when you look across the globe, it failed. I've been in Cuba. I know what it is to be hand out ration books, and that's the equivalent of his free supermarket that he's talking about. I saw what it is when you don't put money into housing, what I saw in different parts of the country. I know that socialism is a failed system, and is the idealism collides with realism. And so I think that what he's trying to present to this city is going to do serious economic challenges. When you tell small property owners that you can't have a modest increase in rent, that what happens is what we saw happen in the 70s, in the early 80s. People walked away from their buildings, stopped doing repairs, insurance costs went up. These small property owners would lose their homes. And so I don't think he understands the full scope of the decision of the mayor and how it impacts the quality of life of the city. And I think that either he lacks the understanding of this role, or he lacks the understanding of the full scope of the decisions that we make. We're part of a financial ecosystem that if you treat it unfairly, bond raters will decrease your bond. You would not be able to put police on the street, teachers in our school, firefighters to put out fires, and make sure the quality of life exists.
Do you think that he is an anti-Semite?
Hey, I'm sorry?
Do you think he's an anti-Semite?
Yes, I do. I think some of the comments, you look at some of his rap lyrics where he's talked about, his embracing of Hamas. That says a lot. Hamas is a murderous organization. Not only does it kill people who they don't agree with, they're known for killing those from LGBTQ plus communities. They're known for harming and using human beings as shields. When you look at the videos of what they did in the Gaza, you can't embrace Hamas. And the mere fact that you embrace Hamas, that says a lot. And other things that he has stated shows that in a city where you have the largest Jewish population outside of Israel, you have to be troubled. I would be troubled if both that used to be in South Africa would all of a sudden want to hold a position in our country somewhere. That would trouble me. And so, those who are Jewish should be concerned. But I also think those who are worried about, if you wanted the 700,000 small property owners, you should be concerned. If you wanted the people that worked in one of our companies and corporations, how he's talking about going after corporations, you should be concerned. We all should be concerned. If you ride out subways or you're dealing with trying to remove guns off our streets, here we're talking about someone that want to dismantle or to defund police department and put social workers to respond to jobs instead of police officers. That's just a lack of understanding what public safety is.
Okay, so that was a lot, Liz, I know. But what say you? Do you get into some of this in your article? And are you surprised to hear him? I think that was the first time I've heard him outright say that he believes that Zohran Mamdani is an anti-Semite.
Yeah, I guess I'm surprised that is. I'm not perhaps surprised because this is a very visceral issue. But New York City is a city. This is a local election. This city has a ton of problems. There are real economic and budgetary issues. And it's interesting to me that the sort of two really salient campaign points here were freeze the rent, which is an incredibly local, you're talking block by block, and the mayor is right. Yes, there's corporate landlords, but a lot of New York City landlords own a couple of properties. You're talking about an incredibly local issue. Are there enough grocery stores on this block? And then are we globalizing the intifada? I mean, this is a really kind of a strange sort of bipolar election in that way. And, we'll see kind of which of those clearly there's a long way till November. We'll sort of see which rises in salience, but it is odd to have the election framed that way. This is a city of 300,000 employees, city workers, 8, 9, 10 million people, depending on where you draw the line, that have day-to-day issues. And it's interesting to me how global this fight has become.
But what's interesting to me, though, is that you have people who were, they couldn't, let's be honest, they did not like Eric Adams. And they weren't crazy about Cuomo, but they said that they would vote for him, right? Because of what they thought Mamdani is. And I don't necessarily believe that he is any of those things that the mayor says. Let me just say that. But that they would now galvanize around Eric Adams at this point, just because of those issues that may not be real.
It's strange. To your point, the business community was always kind of neutral on Adams. What they really miss is Michael Bloomberg, right? These guys are just deeply, deeply nostalgic for those years. They, I think saw Adams as a kind of a return to a middle of the road, kind of centrism after the de Blasio years that were, fairly progressive and had kind of an eat the rich tinge to them post 2008. But, so they were always kind of cool on Adams. Cuomo was someone that they recognize, Cuomo's political career was ascendant when a lot of these guys' business and financial careers was ascendant in the 90s. And so it was familiar. But, there's a lesson here in sort of broader democratic politics, that happened in 2016, where the machine, the elites say what you want, like try to kind of steer the ship in a way that doesn't really align with what their voters want. And not only do they lose, but they lose a lot of credibility in the process and they set themselves back and kind of nobody is happy. And so I think we're in that moment right now where we're going to try to see how much influence this community is going to try to exert. And frankly, what does their money buy them? Because it didn't buy them a primary win. So, we'll see from here. The other thing that's worth remembering is New York has always to some degree relied on its billionaires, right? No. Going back to the Gilded Age, right? They create these social and civic institutions. They pay a lot of the taxes. But for a lot of New York City's history, the capital class relied on New York City. It needed those workers. It needed that infrastructure. I think that balance is a little out of whack post-pandemic. There are other cities in Texas and Florida that have what started as kind of protest pitches, come here because New York is terrible, have turned into pretty credible business infrastructures and communities. The world itself is fracturing in a way that may make New York's, role as the capital of capitalism a little less salient going forward. You're going to see big, economic centers in a lot of countries start to reassert themselves. Money flows are going to shift. I wonder if New York City isn't slightly overplaying its hand here. And look, vocationally, I'm fairly skeptical of Wall Street billionaires. That's my job. But I do think that they have a little more power in this particular fight because they can credibly pick up and say, not only am I going to go to Palm Springs and sit in my mansion down there, but I'm actually going to create my office down there. I'm going to recreate
Palm Beach.
Palm Beach with me. Exactly. Palm Beach. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In Miami. But it's more credible.
Palm Springs isn't bad either, but I'm just going to say.
Listen, it's 1,000 degrees in New York. I'd rather be anywhere. But they have a more credible argument to say that we are actually going to leave and take some of this economic activity with us.
That's what I was going to say. Do you think it's realistic? By the way, I saw you, I had the idea of getting you on and I turned on and I saw you on with Molly Jong-Fast. I'm like, wait, we just reached out to her. So listen, and Molly and I talked about this and it's private, so I won't really share everything. But do you really think people are going to leave, pick up their businesses, and go somewhere else because if Mamdani becomes mayor?
I don't think, look, do I think Goldman Sachs is not going to have a giant office in Lower Manhattan anytime soon? Absolutely not. But,
Right.
They and a bunch of other, financial companies have created, big sort of satellite regional offices in places like Dallas and Nashville and in Virginia, in Florida, in Utah, and in Colorado. These are, like growing cities that frankly offer employees a lot too. And so you have a bit of a push and pull. And look, do I think these guys are going to have a temper tantrum and pick up all of their toys and leave? No. But a lot of them don't live here in the first place, which, undercuts some of their whining. But also, I don't know. I think the iron grip that New York has on certain kinds of business, I think has been slipping for a number of years. And when you sort of look out to where the global economy is going, you could see a world in which it's a little less central. By the way, the people who are really freaking out right now are the real estate guys because their assets can't be moved, right? They own the buildings in the city. And so they are particularly exercised right now.
Well, I got to tell you, yes, my husband's in real estate, and he's getting lots of calls about property values and what should I do, and how's the market, and what's the, is it going to be a buyer's market or a seller's market? So look, these are real things that they're talking about. Whether it's the reality of what they're thinking could happen, it will come to fruition or whatever. And I don't know if it's a reality, but what they're thinking could happen will come to fruition or become reality. That's a whole nother thing,
Yeah, look, if 10% of richest New Yorkers leave, it will do something for home prices, but at the cost of a huge hollowing out of the tax base in a way that I don't think would be very helpful.
All right. Look, go check out Semafor. It is up now. Eric Adams suddenly finds overwhelming support from NYC's desperate business elites. Look, I know you're not in the business. Do you think Eric Adams has a chance here? I guess hey.
Look, the people who choose to run for mayor of New York always, it feels like there has to be something a little wrong with them. It seems like an insane job to me. Eric Adams has had a strange mayoralty, and if this is the June surprise that re-enervates his campaign, maybe. I don't know. It's 2 years in New York, and it's a long way till November, so.
Liz, thank you. Come back. Say hi to Ben, okay?
I will. Thanks, Don.
All right. We appreciate you joining. Thank you so much. Liz Hoffman from Semafor. That was a fascinating conversation. Okay. So look, we have so much. I told you we're going to have a busy show, a busy day today. So let me just get this in. And then I'm going to bring in someone on the breaking news that we have coming out of the Supreme Court, someone who I know I've worked with, trusted, and loved for quite some time. And you want to hear from her, all right, on this breaking news decision that involves the Supreme Court and birthright citizenship. But before we get to that, let's talk about something that we all need right now, and that is some mental health help, okay? You guys know how I feel about getting mental health help, about therapy and such. Should be no stigma. Everybody goes through something. And by the way, June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. So men today face immense pressure to perform, to provide, and to keep it all together. So it's no wonder that 6 million men in the U.S. suffer from depression every year, and it is often undiagnosed. It is okay to struggle. Everybody's going through something. I told you that. Everyone goes through something. Trust me, okay? So this is where BetterHelp comes in, because it can help you. It can make getting help, it can make therapy convenient, affordable, and accessible. Sometimes in-person therapy is out of reach for a lot of people. They have served more than 5 million people worldwide, more than 35,000 licensed therapists, and as the world's largest online therapy provider, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. So talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off of their first month at betterhelp.com/Don Lemon. That's betterhelp.com/Don Lemon. Look, you guys know I talk about it all the time. I've been dealing with a lot over the last few months and years with the death of my sister and all that. If I didn't have a therapist, I don't know where I would be right now. I probably would not be here talking to you guys. So look, take care of your mental health. There's no stigma in that. Okay, here's the breaking news. I'm going to put this up. This is from Kyle Griffin. Breaking. In a 6-3 ruling, the conservative justices just ruled that nationwide injunctions likely exceed the authority Congress has given the courts. In doing so, the court is narrowing nationwide injunctions that block Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship. NPR is reporting Supreme Court limits nationwide injunctions in birthright citizenship order. Forbes also reporting as well. The Supreme Court lets parents opt kids out of LGBT. That's books in school. That's another ruling here. Okay, but let's get to this ruling that limits the injunctions on birthright citizenship. And let's bring in Maria Cardona. Maria Cardona is not only a friend, she's a former co-worker, colleague. She is a CNN contributor, and she is also a Democratic strategist and a longtime immigration rights activist. Maria, it's so good to see you. I miss you. I'm sorry we're having to say hello again with this. Basically, explain to us, because you are, this is a long fight that you have been fighting for a long time, an issue that you've been fighting for a long time. What does this ruling mean? What does this do?
Okay, so first of all, Don, gracias. Thank you for having me on, my friend. I miss you. I love you. It's so great, everything that you're doing on so many platforms. The country thanks you for all these great conversations that you're having. So let me just caveat with the decision that just came down on the birthright citizenship is not a decision on the merits itself. And we're going to have to see exactly how all this plays out. But this is clearly a huge win for the executive powers of the presidency. And in my opinion, we have reached the imperial presidency in a way that has never been there before. The president of the United States today has more power than he has ever had before, than the office has ever had before. And that kind of power in the hands of someone like Donald Trump is incredibly concerning. And on this issue in particular, and again, we have to wait until all of this is analyzed to figure out what it means. But right now, Don, what it means is that there could be children who are born in specific districts, in specific places in this country that ultimately will not have U.S. citizenship, as it is guaranteed under the Constitution. Now, what I am being told is that this issue on the merits still is going to continue to play out in the courts. I can imagine that once this goes out, if the administration puts out guidance on how to implement taking away birthright citizenship from the children of undocumented immigrants, which is what the executive order was, they want to do this nationwide, which means that if you are a child that is born in this country to parents that do not have legal documentation or the right to be here, you do not have U.S. citizenship. That is what the administration wants to implement. Right now, the U.S. Constitution guarantees, and there's language in the 14th Amendment that says anyone who is born in the United States and its territories and under the jurisdiction thereof has the right to receive U.S. citizenship. That's what this administration is trying to take away. Now, what it is going to do is inject even more panic and chaos in my community, in immigrant communities across the country. And people are not going to know exactly what that means for the status of their kids. If you're an undocumented parent, if I'm an undocumented mom today and I'm pregnant here in the United States, and let's say I've been living here for 10 to 20 years, working and raising a family and helping to inject trillions of dollars into our economy, and I'm pregnant today, I'm terrified. I am terrified.
Maria,
that child might not have a U.S. citizenship.
Let me ask you, because we're watching the chat and we, on this platform, we get to respond to our viewers immediately, which is one of the great things about this platform. Many folks in the chat, my producer is saying, many folks in the chat are asking if this is retroactive. I believe this is what they really want to know, but it's not retroactive. But go on.
No, I do not believe it is retroactive. And in fact, I just want to be very clear that we still don't really know what the ultimate effect of this will be, because I suspect that if, let's say, the administration puts out guidance in 30 days on how they want to implement taking away birthright citizenship, there will be lawsuits immediately, right, in those jurisdictions where they want to implement this. And so, again, I think that this will not come into play. It will not become vigorous for a while. But what it does do, Don, and this is where my heart hurts, and if I think about it too much, I will start crying on your air. My community is in a panic because they don't know what it means. They've already had ICE coming into their workplaces, these jackbooted thugs snatching people off the streets without saying who they are or why they are taking such and such a person without any criminal record, right? This already has created panic in so many communities across the country, as you have seen, and you have covered this as well. This is yet another layer of panic and uncertainty that we're going to have to live with for quite a while until we understand exactly what this means. Now, again, I just want to be very careful not to blanket this to say, birthright citizenship no longer exists. That's not true, right? That is not true. We still have birthright citizenship in this country, but the attacks on it from the current Supreme Court is going to make it more difficult to ensure that that right continues to be a solid right without the fear of it being taken away, because this administration desperately wants to take that away. Brought to you by one Stephen Miller, and you and I have talked about this plenty of times on other airs.
And we both have met him, and we've been on a number of panels with him on CNN and other places.
Exactly.
What's the reaction from the community? And Maria, I'm sorry, when you say if you think about it too much that you're going to cry, there are folks now who are saying they're crying and they're heartbroken. What's the reaction?
The reaction, Don, is that this is not the country that my family came to when I was 2 years old. That my family pulled up roots from Colombia to give us a better future. And this country has been nothing but amazing to me and my family. I have been nothing but blessed in getting to do what I have wanted to do because of what my parents sacrificed coming here. And we were lucky. We, came over here legally. We did it right because at the time there were not as many barriers to doing it right? So there's so many in my community who have come here fleeing violence, fleeing poverty, fleeing the lack of opportunity, fleeing warfare in so many of the places where they come from because of the promise of this country. And they have, up until now, been welcomed with open arms because, as you know, Don, the vast majority of immigrants in this country come here to give their kids a better life, and they work back-breaking jobs that native-born Americans do not want to do. And the work from immigrants has contributed, and this comes from economists across the spectrum, trillions of dollars to our economy. And in fact, those same economists have said that if the mass deportations happen and if this birthright citizenship executive order happens, our economy is in a world of hurt because our economy needs more workers, not less. But from the standpoint of what this country has meant to immigrants, that is being struck down. It is having a death by 1,000 cuts. It's having a death by 1,000 xenophobic executive orders and policies that are being implemented by this racist, xenophobic administration.
Maria Cardona, I am so grateful to you. But first of all, I'm grateful for your friendship and your love. And I've met your entire family, and I love them. And I believe they love me as well.
They adore you, Don.
So, Maria, I thank you for coming on and explaining this to us. Maria is just an amazing person who has been fighting for immigration rights and an advocate for such a long time. And she is also a CNN contributor. You can watch her there. And where can my viewers, all 750 some thousand subscribers and millions on social media, where do they get you? How can they get your content?
Thank you so much for asking. I'm on Substack, so would love for people to go and subscribe. I'm going to launch my show on Substack in mid-July, and that is at Real Maria Cardona. And then on Twitter, now X, at Maria T. Cardona, and on Instagram, at Maria Cardona DC. Thank you to you, Don. Thank you to all of your amazing viewers and subscribers and listeners. You are on every single platform, Don, which I love, 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 love. And I can't wait to come on with you again. The more, as we learn more about what this means exactly, would love to continue to come on and explain to
you will. And we'll do a Substack.
Audience.
Of course, and we'll do a Substack in July.
Oh, okay? I would love that. Let's do that. Right. Okay.
Thank you. Be well, my friend.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, see you later. Ciao. The amazing Maria Cardona. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, I'm going to do something a little bit odd here, okay? So I wish I could play something. Do we have anything that I can play? Do we have anything that I did not play? Because I wanted to go down. Well, I won't get the award. I'll show you the award later. I won't do it. But we've had such an amazing week here. I got the award. Remember, I got the Impact Award in Los Angeles last Saturday. You guys saw that. And then day before yesterday, check us out. This is what we did. There is the award. There's a chairman's award from the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce. And this is really to get something like this for the Chamber of Commerce to be recognized for starting a small, successful business, an independent media business that happens to be a minority owned business. And to get this recognition was just, it just meant the world to me. That's me. I'm putting my beer down and go up because I got to, loosen up a little bit. And these are people. Look to the left of this picture. You see Nikki and Andy there. Peter was out of town, so Peter could not come. He was vacationing somewhere. I don't know, probably in the south of France. And then, and so these were people who would come up to me and they're like, I'm Lemonhead. I'm a Lemonhead. I love it. Okay, real quickly, because I know we have to get to another interview, but can we play some of the Lemonheads? Even the photographer at the event was a Lemonhead and told me as he was taking the picture. So here we go. Okay, I want to introduce you to someone. This is
Ron Foster.
And Ron Foster is
a Lemon Nation member.
And you're a Lemonhead?
Lemonhead. Yes, indeed. We are Lemonheads together in our wonderful Lemon Nation. I am so proud of this man. So proud of Mr. Don Lemon.
And you watch every Hot Topics in the morning?
Every Hot Topic, every evening. I am there. I work from home. I'm a photographer. So when I get to work out, when I'm not here, I'm watching.
Yeah, Lemon Nation strong.
Lemon Nation strong. Here we go. What's up?
Turn the TV off.
Turn the TV off. Exactly.
Amazing. And then also another Lemonhead. Here we go. So what did you guys just ask me? What did you say?
I said I never asked for photos, but I have to ask you for one because we are the original Lemonheads. We love Don Lemon. I love the change he's making. Independent media all day, all day, all day.
We are Lemon Nation. Thank you, guys. Sorry. Hey guys, how did you feel of winning an award from the Chamber of Commerce? Tell me that wasn't some badass shit, right?
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
It was cool to meet the Lemonheads too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. In just a short amount of time. And you guys got to see people saying, oh, I'm part of the Lemon Nation. I'm part of Lemonhead. I'm telling you, I always say to the producers when I go out that people say that to me, and now they have witnessed it. So anyways, before I get too emotional, I just want to say thank you to all of you for what you have done helping us do this over the last year and a half or so. Not quite a year and a half, but almost. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been really, really amazing. I was stunned and shocked. I'm often invited to get awards, and sometimes I say, I'll send a video, thank you so much, or to MC something, but this one was really important. The fucking Chamber of Commerce. Do you guys know how huge that is for a small business? Not all businesses survive. I'm just saying, okay? So thank you for that. And by the way, support us. Please become a member, subscribe, become a paid member, or you can become, there's a free membership, a free subscription and a paid subscription, whatever platform you're following us on. And check out our merch store. Go to donlemon.com, click on merch, and then you can go to our merch store and get our wonderful things. And you can also look at all of our other content. And also, so please support us. Or you can go to our YouTube page and then just go to shop on the YouTube page, and you can get all the wonderful merch that we have and support us. So become a member, subscribe, make sure you hit the thumbs up. And as I always say, You can be informed. Before I start crying too much, guys, without being inundated, you don't have to sit in front of the television. We're going to bring you stuff. Look at what we did. We had 2 breaking news stories that we got on. We did Diddy, which is happening, closing arguments. Then we did the mayor's. Then we did the mayor's race and what's happening with people, businesses saying that they're going to leave or they're going to form this alliance with Eric Adams, which is just unusual and kind of crazy. Not because it's Eric Adams, but just a turn of events with Andrew Cuomo and all of that. And then we did the breaking news on the birthright citizenship. So that's what you get here on the Don Lemon channel. You get it all. So until we see you live at 5 this evening, turn the TV off. Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will